everyone, it's Megan Piles, BCBA, with Teach Me ABA, powered by Piles & Associates. In today's video, Brittany and I are answering your questions about grad school. In this 3-part series, we will answer questions from our viewers about daily routine, coursework, tuition, degrees, and even more. In today's video, we'll talk about our personal experiences and daily routines in our graduate programs. We'll also answer your questions about tuition and whether the price of graduate school is really worth it. Hi everyone, it's Megan.
And Brittany.
And we are Teach Me ABA.
Hey. Hi everyone, hope you're doing well.
Today, we're going to answer a lot of the great questions that we got from just in the comments from our last video about getting into grad school, and we'll talk about grad school life and all of that. So we really appreciate all the questions that you guys sent. And Brittany and I have much different graduate school experiences, so I think it'll be really cool for you guys to see what the differences are between different types of grad programs.
Yeah, I'm so excited to talk about our experiences. We've both known both of our experiences one-on-one, but I think others are going to be really interested to find out what it's been like for both of us. I mean, I think the first thing is probably the routine. So in particular for yourself, Megan, how was your school routine back in Florida?
Well, I went to grad school actually in Sacramento. Yeah, undergrad was Florida, and then I moved across the country, which was tons of fun. Great decision. One warm place to another warm place. I just knew like no more winter after growing up in Chicago.
You're like, I'm done.
Yeah, so Sacramento, California, for those of you who aren't West Coast natives. I might never have heard of Sacramento. I guess that's just east of the Mississippi. We don't talk about it much, but luckily I found a grad school there. So my routine, it kind of evolved throughout graduate school, and I think it's important to explore it from an evolutionary perspective, right? Because like you're going to start grad school, and for me, I had just moved across the country, started a new job. I didn't know anybody. The culture here is much different than anywhere I had lived before. I'd been in Chicago and Philadelphia and Florida, and there's just much different expectations for how people interact there. You know, everybody maybe thought I was a weirdo here, and I had to assimilate just like somebody from California would have to do going east. You know, you have to fluff up your language here. I use so many more words now than I did back east. And people out east, it's like, okay, you could have said that in like 5 words. So you get really good at autoclitics, which you learn about in graduate school. One of the most undervalued verbal operants, unless you're in California. Back to the topic. When I first started grad school, I don't think I had the best routine. It was I was immersed in schoolwork and work, and I really didn't have anything else in my life besides like walking my dog. I didn't socialize very much, which kind of carried with me throughout graduate school. And so I think I probably going back would have started grad school differently. But about halfway through, I started doing yoga every morning. So I would do yoga before I went to my academic classes. Then I went to my academic class. My program was structured so 3 or 4 mornings a week, depending on the semester. You would go to campus and have class from 9 a.m. to 12. So 9 to 12 hours of class per week. And then I worked all afternoon. So I would go eat lunch in my car and then go work from 2 o'clock until 6:30 or whenever sessions ended. So it was pretty busy. I maybe shouldn't have worked as much. I'd walk my dog between there. Maybe that's what kept me sane, but it was really busy. So I think anyone who's getting into graduate school needs to recognize, depending on the school that you go to, there may not be much time for other things in life besides your academics and work. Yeah. How about you, Brittany? You're still in grad school. You're finishing up. What has your daily routine looked like throughout graduate school?
I mean, it's so interesting to hear your perspective because I actually started off as a student online. through the Chicago School of Professional Psychology out here in downtown LA. So I actually started online just because for me personally, it was very easy to do the assignments and stay on track with everything. So I started as an online student. I started my mentorship with your dad, with Dr. Biles, and he did the great recommendation to have me transfer over to be an on-ground student in downtown LA. And so when I started there, my schedule definitely changed. So I would pretty much have work Monday through Friday. And anyone who works in ABA knows that your schedule kind of varies. So I would be working from the morning, it could be 8 a.m. and I could be working until 6:30, maybe 7. And then I'd come home and just do my assignments and whatever needed to be done. And with my schooling, I didn't go to on-ground lecture or any of my courses during the middle of the week. My courses were over the weekend. And not every weekend, they were kind of every other weekend, depending on the semester, which I personally just found a little bit easier because I could work during the week, I could get my homework done during the week, and then I would have to sacrifice a weekend. And I would generally on the weekend go to class between 8 in the morning until about 5 in the afternoon. So I know it sounds kind of tough for other people who are like, how did you give up your weekend? Well, as Megan said, when you get into grad school, those are just sacrifices, quote unquote sacrifices that need to be made. That's something that I wanted to do. I wanted to pursue my further academic life. And so I just, I did it and I've been doing it. And now it's been different because we have telehealth classes. So I'm just logging in very similar to how I'm talking now to Megan, who is 300 miles away or so, but it's worked. It's worked for me because I like having the ability to work during the week and then just get my homework done at night, have classes on the weekends, be done by about 5, and then I can just relax for the rest of my weekend time. Pretty much my routine right now for school, besides turning in assignments, meeting with Dr. Piles, meeting with Megan, all of those things are just time management things that you have to get a hold of.
I think one of the biggest lessons that I learned in grad school is never to rely on your memory. You end up juggling so many tasks, and if you try to just keep them in your head, there's no way. Yeah, definitely.
That's a great grad school tip. Whatever you think you're going to remember, you're not. So write it down immediately, type it down in your computer, just right then and there. I've done so much better at just listening to myself and knowing I'm not going to remember this and typing it down. I think another good question that we've had is, do we both feel that our programs were worth the cost? Because I know for a lot of individuals out there, it's going to depend. And then especially for grad school, that's not necessarily covered through any kind of financial aid within your state. So how about, what would you say, Megan? Do you think your program was worth it?
Oh, I definitely think it was worth it. But I also went to a state school. So my graduate degree here in California, I was able to get in-state tuition after being a student here for a year. And it was actually cheaper than my tuition at Florida State, where I got my undergrad. So usually graduate tuition is higher, but that wasn't the case for me. I think it was well worth it. I got a great deal because it was a state school, especially considering how close of supervision I got because I went to such a small program. There were only 6 people in my cohort. So my biggest class ever was 13 people. And so I think it was so worth it. But you have a different experience, Brittany, because you're going to a private university. So how do you feel about it?
I still definitely feel it was very much so worth it. I know I got dealt a really great hand in meeting yourself and Dr. Piles, so that's kind of the experience that I've had. But I honestly like that my school, the Chicago school, I really like that they're professionally driven. So they know that we work during the week and it's important for us to accumulate our hours of experience out in the field. But I wouldn't take any of it back. Yes, the price for my tuition is a bit higher, and I'm fine with that because I knew going into this that I'm doing this solely for the passion of working with my kiddos and, learning more and gaining that experience. And so I find it all worth it. I know I pay much more because it is a private school, as you said, but I'm not concerned. I have a really bright future ahead of me with a lot of support, so worth it. I would do it all over again if I could.
Yeah, I think anybody who's hung up on the price of undergraduate or graduate school should really sit down and look at numbers. Go on Glassdoor and see the average salary for a board certified behavior analyst and compare that to what you're making now. Because a lot of people think, oh, I'll just save up the money and then I'll go. But the amount of difference in your salary between what you're working now and what you would make after graduate school is probably so large that if you were really frugal after you graduated, which nobody is because you're like, yay, I'm making money, let's go shopping. I'm not a broke student anymore. Or that was my experience. It's been years for me and I'm still shopping. Can't stop that. But I think if you crunch those numbers, waiting is actually, a disadvantage, I think. Yeah, having a master's degree is so worth it. Even, no matter the program, it definitely pays for itself.
Yeah, it definitely does. And that's something really interesting to bring up because I did have those thoughts before I applied to my grad program. I was thinking, what is this going to look like when I'm done? Am I going to be able, to handle it? But you really can, especially for BCBAs. We are much needed out in the field, and we will be needed in the future, specifically for our program, but for any program. Just take a look, do the research. And I'm sure you'll find all the answers you're looking for.
Thanks for watching. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to get notified every time we have a new post. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below and we'll be sure to get to them in an upcoming video. Join us next week in the second episode of this series, where Brittany and I will discuss coursework, the different types of degrees that you can get to become a BCBA, and the opportunities that become available to you once you get that BCBA certification.